Today is a big day for us. It's the continuation of our Forward Building campaign that we started almost, 3.5 years ago that we launched this. And so it's a big day for us. We are literally moving forward. It's the theme, and it's also what we're doing. And how many of you know moving forward is always better? It's always better than getting stuck. Getting stuck is not fun. Moving forward, it brings all the feels when you're moving forward. You know, it's like the first day of school. Anybody remember the first day of school? Maybe too long ago for most of us in here, but maybe the day you graduated school. Some of you might remember that. The day you got married. Hopefully you had great emotions going into that day. The day you had your first child, and then it's just there's all of the feels. And it's always better when you're moving forward. It's like a roller coaster. How many of you are roller coaster people? You enjoy a good roller coaster? Come on. Yeah, the 11:30. It just feels like 8:30 people are not roller coaster people. And then the 11:30, you're like, yeah, woo! Roller coasters make me nervous. I'm going to be honest with you. And it's not because I'm not a trusting person. It's just I don't trust roller coasters. And I don't trust the people who run them. And I have good reason because they keep getting stuck. Have you heard these stories? Has anybody heard stories of this? Like, it's happening. I Googled it. I was like, wouldn't it be cool to share a story? I don't know if it's, I think it's happened. I've heard a little bit about. There's a bunch of stories out there of roller coasters getting stuck. Like one of them, literally was stuck upside down. They were upside down for hours. Almost like, no, thank you. No, thank you. And I was reading about one of the stories. It was in England. This happened in 2021. And it was one of the tallest roller coasters in the world, the tallest roller coaster in the UK, 235 feet tall. And they had gotten to the top of the roller coaster, and you know that feeling. It's like tick, 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 and you're like, oh, here we go. They go tick, 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 and it just stopped. 235 feet in the air. Can you just imagine this? All you're hearing is seeing the birds below you. It's like right on a coast. You can Google this. It's the roller coaster is called the Big One, and they're just stuck there. And so they're just waiting. They don't know what to do. There's nobody, there's no captain on board being like, hey, we got some technical difficulties. They're just up there, stranded. And then finally they hear someone coming up the ladder, and comes up, because these things have ladders. I don't know if you knew that, but they have ladders. And then someone comes up the ladder and is like, all right, guys, we're going to have to walk down now. And there's no fence. It's just they hold on to a rail, and death is right there. No, thank you. How many of you know it's always better to be moving forward? And that's what we're doing today. We're moving forward. And it's what we did 3.5 years ago when we started this campaign. 3.5 years ago, many of you were here, but I would just say this, many of you were not. How many of you are new in the last 3.5 years? Just raise your hand if you are new in the last 3.5 years. Isn't that cool? So many people. Yeah, come on. That's awesome. But some of you may not know that we merged with Lee Summit First Church. There was a church that was here. This building's not new. This is a renovation of a building that had been around for a long time. And Lee Summit First Church, great church. And Pastor Roger was the lead pastor at the time at that church. And through a bold step of faith, they merged with us, and we just began thinking about what the Lord was doing. And so let me show you. In fact, this is what the building looked like before the merger. So let me just show you. This is what Lee Summit First looked like. So this is the building we're in right now. It looks totally different now. I mean, you can see some of the similarities. Let's go to the next page. This is the interior. This is the lobby area, so we opened up all of that, and there's the auditorium. You can see it just looks so different. Then we have another page. This is the ministry center, a.k.a. Noah's Ark. We like to call it affectionately. Do you see the Noah's Ark resemblance? I think they made it to look like Noah's Ark. I think that they do. I think they did. Then we took the top off of it, flattened the lines. Now we made it look more like a battleship. Come on, somebody. We're going to war. We're going to, anyways. So that's what it looked like before. We had just merged, and we were full of faith for what the Lord could do. But we were thinking about, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to call this thing Forward. We're going to be moving forward, and we're going to do a building campaign, and it's going to be all about the next generation. So the idea was forward, building the next generation. So we're like, yes, we're going to do that. That's going to be great. And so we come to find out, after we'd already moved forward with the branding, we'd already launched the idea that that's how this building was started, was this whole idea of building the next generation. In fact, the reason this building is here today is because probably 3-4 decades ago, there was a couple in the church, Ed and Dormalee Collier, who were attending Lee Summit First Church. And let me show you the picture. There they are. Aren't they sweet? Just beautiful people. And they had felt like the Lord was calling them to start a church in this property. So Ed, he worked at Lee Summit, one of the Lee Summit schools, Pleasant Lee Middle School. And so he would drive past this piece of property every time he was going to work, and he just felt like there should be a church here. So as he's driving by, he would pray over it. As he's driving by, he'd pray over it. And then he'd get out and he'd start walking the property. He'd start praying that the Lord would do something here and that there would be a church here. And then eventually he brought his wife out, Dormalee, and they would start walking it together. And ultimately, they approached the board and the board. I mean, these are just normal people. I would say normal, extraordinary lay people who were believing God for something powerful. And so let me share their story. This is what Dormalee writes. She says, Ed's dream was to see this building come to pass. He was driving by this property each day and began to view it as a perfect area for our church to build and grow. We both began to see the possibilities when he took me out to view the property, and we began to pray and ask God to lead and guide us. And we asked if it was his will that he give us the opportunity to approach the church board to consider the purchase of this piece of ground for our new church building. We prayed for quite some time about it. Now, where they were meeting was right next to Lee Summit High School at the time. So they were meeting in what is now King's Church. So they're meeting there, and they're praying about this new piece of ground, and they're praying about putting the church here. And then watch this. She writes this. Finally, his dreams began to take place, and it became a reality. As we launch and grow, this was as they were getting ready to build this building. As we launch and grow, what a blessing we can be to our community. His vision and dream were to have a place for our children to come to. The children meant a lot to him. And they didn't have any children of their own. So here's the interesting thing about it. I say all that to say, they had a vision for this place to build the next generation, even though they didn't have any kids of their own. And then we start this campaign, and it's all about building the next generation. And we find out that all of this was like happening all along. And isn't that cool how God works? That's always how God works. God's always doing stuff that like he's doing, and then when you get in the flow with God, and you start realizing he's been working things way before you ever got there. Way before you ever started or even began to think about starting, God was doing stuff. That's how the kingdom works. And so that's what this campaign is all about. And so we finished the initial forward campaign, and that was renovating this building, buying the next building, renovating that. And so we finished the first phase of that. And man, in the past 3.5 years, God has been on the move. Let me just share some unbelievable numbers with you. But in the last 3.5 years, since we started this campaign, Sunday morning attendance has increased by 189%. So that's crazy. Youth attendance is up 133%. Kids attendance is 134%. Baptisms, check this out. We've had 412 people get baptized in the last 3.5 years. That's pretty stinking cool. And then worthy of great celebration, in the last 3.5 years, we've had 2,523 people make decisions for Jesus Christ. Come on, somebody. Let's praise the Lord for that. That's incredible. Incredible. And so the forward campaign, the first phase was we raised just over $2 million, which was really fantastic. So cool. And thank you so much for those of you who are a part of it. But while we were doing that, we were also giving to missions and kingdom builders partners. In the last 3.5 years, we've given $485,000 or $485,917.46. Come on, somebody. Isn't God good? That's so cool. I share all those numbers with you, but you know what? Those numbers, they're more than numbers. They're stories of lives that have been changed. Real people whose lives have been changed. Let me share the States family story with you. They write this. They say, after months of searching for a church to make our home, a friend invited us to Summit Park. The energy from the moment you walked into the door was positive and contagious. Shout out to the hospitality team. Don't you just love them? So appreciate you guys. They say this, I felt the message on that given Sunday was directly for me, and I knew that I wanted to keep coming back. My sunken spirit was uplifted. My kids love the youth program and grow in wonder of the Lord each week. Summit Park offers suggestions and tools through the yearly Bible plan, 30 for 30, all of the core night activities and small groups that aid in growing my faith and make me want to authentically be closer to God. My entire family's walk with God has been positively impacted since we began attending 2 years ago, and we love that Summit Park is our church home. Come on, isn't that a great story? That's cool. That's cool. That's real. That's real. Let me share Braden's story. Braden writes this, I always felt like I lacked a church home or family before I came to Summit Park, but ever since I made the decision to come, I've been obsessed with youth. It's helped me learn to serve and grow and deepen my faith. Hearing Trey preach and seeing how he lives his life and cares for the youth has changed my faith permanently, giving me a family and a community beyond what I could imagine, being ignited by the Spirit as the Lord continues to work through Summit Park. Come on, somebody. That's amazing. That's amazing. So today, we're launching the next phase of our Forward campaign. We're calling it Forward 2.0. And so it's gonna be all about taking your step. And I just want you, if you could, just grab that little card on your seat, if you would. Grab that little card on your seat. Everybody, if you could, just take it out, wave it in the air. I want everybody just to take this out for a minute. Okay, here's what I want us to do. I just want you, at the end of this, we're gonna collect these. And I'm asking you right now, just to begin to even pray right where you are about what the Lord would have you do if he would have you be a part of this next phase of our campaign. Because what we're believing God is to help us take a step forward. God's helped us so far, but I believe the best is yet to come. I believe that we are just getting started. And I'm asking you to pray. We're going to collect these at the end. And if some of you are like, man, you know what you're going to give, you can put the card in the bucket as it comes by. Some of you may need more time to pray about it. Here's where I am on the whole giving stuff. Like, I don't like giving campaigns. I don't like asking for money. But it turns out people don't like building buildings for free. It's crazy. The contractors, it's nuts. They want money. The materials cost money, so it takes money to make it happen. And so we got to talk about money because the money fuels what God's vision is. And that's just the way that it is. And so, but I never want the whole money stuff to be guilt or manipulation or you to feel like you have to do this. This is all an invitation to respond to what God's doing in your heart. Promise, all right? So, but let me give you some information. I know there's two groups of people. There's detail people, and then there's vision type of people. How many of you are detail people? Come on, just raise your hand. Anybody detail? How many of you are vision people? You're like, yeah, just tell me a story. I've got stuff for both of you guys today, all right? So let me start with the details. What we are giving to. What are we giving to? We are giving to purchasing 4.8 acres of ground next door to our ministry center is a part of a new development that's coming in. 38-acre development that's coming into that property. Where you see the vans right now in the parking lot, there's going to be a beautiful development that's coming in with some of your favorite places, Chick-fil-A being one of them. Come on, somebody. Fortunately, they're not open after church, but they're open every other day of the week. But what is open after church will be Q39. That will be right next door. Wow, okay. Barbecue revival happening here this morning. Starbucks will be there. There's going to be some other cool chicken and pickle type of places, and there's going to be apartment complex. Then there's going to be a field house that the city is putting in. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. And we have the opportunity to buy 4.8 acres of ground that are a part of it, right on the corner, right next to our ministry center. What that's going to allow us to do, it's going to give us 500 spots, which we need if we're going to expand and do an additional auditorium and then convert all of this building into next generation space for kids and youth. That's our plan, okay? What will that give us is a new 1,200 seat auditorium, which is double the size of this. And it will give us 15 classrooms total for youth and kids, as well as 2 auditoriums that are just for youth and kids. Would you like to see some pictures? All right, let me show you some pictures, okay? Let's start with the outdoor. Okay, right here, this is the church, and you can't, phase 2 is, or the new auditorium is right over there, right in this area, and then the parking obviously over here. So that's kind of the layout of it. Okay, next page. This is the parking lot, 500 spots, which is just awesome. Next picture. This is from the highway. You can see the auditorium here, with a street level entrance off of Allendale, which we are praying that the Lord will give us the street. Pray with us that the God will give this to us. That would be really cool if they could close the street, we could have it. But we don't need it to be able to do this, but keep going forward. There's the street level entrance. Go again. Keep going. This kind of gives you just some perspective of how the campus all works together. This is the street level entrance. You come in, you walk down. You can also enter from the lower level as well. But keep going. This is a corridor that wraps around the front. The auditorium is right to the right. Keep going. This is the couple alcoves, the info bar, the lounge. You go into the auditorium and you're going to see, go ahead, next page. This is what the auditorium will look like. Just auditorium. It's like similar to what we have now, just double the size. That's what we're going to be able to reach, even twice as many people, which is great, obviously. That's what we're here for. Keep going. You can kind of get a visual. This is the current space. So now this is what we know as our lobby right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring the coffee counter up a little bit, and we're going to add a secured area just past those windows. Okay? So, and then go to the next page. This shows you how both spaces will combine. Does that make sense? Is everybody tracking with us? That's looking past the coffee counter into what will be the new corridor, okay? And then this will be the next page. This will be the youth auditorium, which is basically this section right here. We'll probably maybe even leave the stage as is, but then we'll finish off 5 rooms on each side for kid space or space for what will be Summit Park College. That is starting next fall. Come on, somebody really excited about that. All of that requires parking. Because as you know, even now, we have parking limitations. And so when people need places to park, we can't even build that without parking. So this phase, Forward 2.0, is to buy the ground and finish it, or at least some of it, initially for parking. And so that's Forward 2.0. We're buying the parking lot. We have an opportunity to close on that at the end of December. So this is it. We are like here. This is incredible. It's crazy. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But let's talk about the most important thing, and that's what we are giving for, or why are we giving? Okay. What are we giving for? We are giving for those who aren't here yet. That's what we're giving for. So this might come as a shocker to you, but you are already here. You're here today. You've made it. You're here. And you probably have the seat that you like to sit in or close to it, right? You've got your spot, you've got your area. But let me just say this. Most of Kansas City is not here yet. Like, not just here in this building, but in any church. 75% of Kansas City is not in a Jesus-centered church. That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, if I told you Los Angeles, 75%, you'd be like, of course, heathens, total, like Seattle, of course, New York, yeah. But Kansas City, you'd be like, man, that's a little bit crazy, especially with as many churches as we have. But the reality is, people are far from God. People don't know God. They are not experiencing the goodness of God. And so what we are giving for in this campaign is for them. We're giving for them. That's our heart. That's our mission. That's what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 28. As he's done with the ministry, his ministry is getting ready to go to heaven. He's getting his disciples together, and he says, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. He says, go into all the world. This is our job. Our job is to reach those people who are not here yet, to bring them in and allow them to experience the good news of Jesus Christ. And how does that happen? It happens when the church is the church. Romans chapter 10, verse 14. But how can they call on him to save them unless they believe in him? Like how can people know about God unless they believe? And how can they believe in him if they never heard about him? And how can they hear about him unless someone tells them? And how will anyone go and tell them without being sent? That's why the scriptures say, how beautiful are the feet of messengers who bring good news. It's like, how can this happen? It only can happen when people who already know about him tell others about him. That's our job. That's our job. And let me just say this. This is what we are all about here at Sum Up Park Church. And we've always been about this. And Lord willing, we will always be about this. We are about the person who is not here yet. And that's why we do stuff like Candy Palooza coming up in a couple of weeks. It's an excuse. Be like, let's throw a party. Let's have a donut truck. Let's get an alpaca or two out in the field. And be like, you should come and hang out and eat a donut and chill with an alpaca. Really? Yeah, sounds awesome. Come on, it's going to be great. Your kids can dress up. They're going to get candy. Sounds amazing. That's what we're about. And we're going to do that because it's a way to reach people who are far from God. It's a way to show people, you know what, man, hey, church can be relatable. We can meet you where you are and help you understand what this whole thing is about. So we're giving for those who aren't here yet. Then secondly, we are giving for the next generation. We are giving for the next generation. Our heart, our passion is that this will be a lighthouse for generations, that every young generation that comes up in Lee Summit or in the surrounding areas will drive by this and say, that's a place I can go and find hope. That's a place I can go and be encouraged. That's a place I can go and hear the word of God. That's a place I can go and be built up in my faith. That's why we are doing this. That's why Ed and Dorma League did this. And that's why we are doing this as well. We're continuing to move forward. Amen? Then also, we're doing this so that youth will have spaces, kids will have spaces, and that our college will have classrooms as well. So we're praying, we're building all of that out. And let me just cast a little vision for this. We'll do more of that in time. But the college is going to be amazing, y'all. I'm just telling you. It's going to be an Associates of Art degree that can transfer anywhere. So it's going to be very transferable. But what it's going to do, it's going to allow young people to come into a Christian place, a Christian environment, Christmas environment too, Easter, all of the Christian holidays. And it's going to be a Christian environment where they can grow in their faith all while they're getting an Associates of Art degree. And that will allow them to be strengthened in their faith at the beginning of their adult life. As they get ready to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, contractors, wherever they go on from there, they're going to have the ability to ground their faith in a great environment. So I'm really, really excited about the college. It's been on our heart for a long time, and we're starting it next fall. Really, really excited about that. We are giving for the next generation. Then we are also giving for spiritual life change. We are giving for spiritual life change. We're not giving to a rec center, although rec centers are great. We're not even giving to a food bank, although food banks are great. We are giving to the local church. We are giving to expand a local church. And there is no better thing to give to. I'm just saying, if we believe what we believe, there is no better thing to give to than the expansion of the local church, especially when this local church is thriving and reaching people. There's no better investment of your time. And let me just say this. I know many of you want to give to change your society. And let me just ask this. How many of you would like your world to be a little bit better than it is right now? Come on. The world's a little bit nuts. Do you know how we fix the world best and ultimately? With the gospel. That's how we change culture. I'm all for Christian legislation. I'm all for it. Great. We should vote for everything that helps promote life and Christian flourishing. I believe that 100%. But let me just say this. The way we change culture most and best is not through legislation. It's through the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's through the gospel. People don't change top down. They change inside out. That's how we change the culture, is by giving them the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So there's no better investment of our time, energy, and effort. So that's what we're giving to spiritual life change. And let me tell you what we're not giving for. We're not giving for our comfort. Sorry to tell you this. I do hope the seats are a little bit wider in the new building. I just want you to know that. We're going to work on that. I know they're a little tight. And depending on how this goes at the end of service, maybe we can work something out, okay? Kidding, kind of. But we're not giving towards our comfort. That's not what we're giving for. We are not giving so that we can be comfortable in our nice church. That's not what we're giving for. And let me just say, as a pastor, I want to just be honest with you. The whole giving campaign stuff, and I like dreaming about it, but actually making it happen is a lot of work. Going through the campaign is a lot of work. Going through the construction process is all a lot of work. It's all a ton of work. And man, it would be nice just to sit in our nice church, in our comfortable church, and enjoy the worship. And we love our worship team, and we love the kids there. You just continue to build. It would be so nice to be comfortable. I'm just telling you, that's not what God has called us to do. He's not called us to be comfortable. He's called us to reach those who are far from God. And that's what we're going to do. So we're not giving to comfort. We're giving so that people can find and follow Jesus. So what are we giving from? What are we giving from? We're giving from a changed life. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the fact that your life has been so changed. If you are a Christian, if you are a follower of Christ, your life has been eternally changed, like completely and fundamentally and totally changed by the gospel. And this is what John says in 1 John 3. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are. We have been changed. We have been saved. We have been redeemed. We have been given a purpose and a calling and gifting and passion and life and grace. God has given us all of that. So what does he want us to do? Be a conduit. That's what so we've been blessed so much. Now we are given out of this life that has been changed and redeemed and saved. So we're given from a changed life, and we are also giving from great blessing. The reality is, all of us have so much, don't we? We have been blessed. I know it feels like financial times are tight, and the grocery bill is higher than ever. And the gas bill might be higher than ever, and an electric bill is higher than, I know it feels things are, but we're still so blessed. Historically, globally, we are incredibly blessed. Why? It is to be a blessing. It is to be a blessing, and we have an opportunity to do that. And that's the next thing. We are giving from a divine opportunity. So here's the reality. God has given us a divine opportunity right here in this place and in this space. We are on a highway in the middle of a fast-growing city, in the middle of that city. And we've been given the opportunity to buy land in a development right next door. This is amazing. This is incredible. Because it turns out they're not making any more land. It's nuts, but it's just crazy. They're not making any more of it. So what is what is. And initially, some of you might remember, we had wanted to buy the Nazarene property. That was part of Ford. Well, number one, it's not for sale. And number two, even if we bought it, it's in a floodplain. And so as we've walked through the purchase of that, we are unable to do anything with it. So we can't go that way. We've looked actually at how many houses will we need to buy to expand that way. Turns out it's pretty expensive. And we've also looked at taking all of this and relocating to a different part and just starting from scratch. What would that cost? Double. So there's only one way to grow. It's that way. And by God's divine intervention, after they had initially said no to us, we prayed about it on Wednesday nights, God has opened the door. I mean, 4.8 acres right in the corner of the property. It's amazing. It's incredible. You can't draw this up any better. We've been given this divine opportunity. I believe God is helping us. Why? For such a time as this. When we started the Forward campaign, that's the verse that we used. Esther. You know the story on Esther. Esther's been given this amazing opportunity. She becomes the queen. She has the opportunity to save all of the Jewish people. And her uncle Mordecai reminds her that she's been given this opportunity. She's been given this opportunity to have closeness with the king, to save the Jewish people. It's like, you need to take it. You need to take this opportunity. Look at this, Esther chapter 4. For if you remain silent, this is her uncle Mordecai telling her, for if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. But who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Who knows that maybe God has put you here at Summit Park in this season to help build something that will be here long after all of us are gone. Who knows that God has put you here for such a time as this? I don't know about you, but I'm thankful for everybody who was a part of the Forward Campaign 1.0, right? All of you who were not here 3.5 years ago, aren't you thankful for those that helped build this? Yeah. Aren't you thankful for Ed and Dorma Lee decades ago who said there should be a church here? Aren't you thankful for the people of Lee Summit First, Pastor Roger, having the faith to say that something should happen here? That this is how it works. Faith builds upon faith, builds upon faith, builds upon faith, and we leave a legacy that long outlives us. That's what we have the opportunity to do here at Summit Park. So the question is, what is our part? And that's where this card comes in. So if you wouldn't mind, just take this card. Just take it out, take that pen, and I'm going to ask you to fill it out and to write something, to write a number down. What's your part? Take a step. That's what I want to encourage you. Take a step forward. We're doing this campaign over 26 months, 24, 25, 26. 26 months will be done in 2026. And so it's 2 years, and our goal is to pay for the land. That's our goal. And once we do that, then we can move forward with Forward 3.0, Lord willing, which will be, the building of the 1,200-seat auditorium and the renovation of this space. So what's our part? To take a step. Now, here's how I want you to think about this. I want to encourage you to think about this. Do you remember the first day that you pulled into church? Whether it be this church or another church, do you remember the first day that you pulled in? You were probably nervous, probably a little anxious. You're pulling in, and you see these people out there waving to you, directing traffic, opening the doors for you, telling you where to sit. And you're like, I want to sit over there. Like, no, sit here. Do you remember that first day? Let me ask you this, that parking spot that you pulled into, how much would you pay? Like, if you're like, man, if that parking spot did not exist, you would not experience what you would ultimately experience. How much would you pay for that parking spot? Would you pay $100? Would you pay $1,000? I mean, think about that. If you could go back in time and do that, but you can't because someone else already gave so that you could have that parking spot. See, that's how it works in the kingdom. You pay it forward. God blesses, and then you bless for somebody else. And that's what we have the opportunity to do today. We have the opportunity literally to pay so that when someone else pulls in, they've got room. We've literally, already we've heard stories of people, because it gets crowded here. Big Sundays, event days, it gets crowded. I've heard multiple stories of people who pull into the parking lot, they're like, yeah, I'm good. And they they just see it's all packed, it's crowded. People parking in the street, on the grass. Multiple stories. People are like, yeah, I'll watch online. But how many people are like, man, I'm good, and they never come to church? So what we're doing is we're literally making room for people to experience God. It doesn't get any more significant than that. I'm just saying, if what we believe is true, it doesn't get any more significant than that. And that's what we have the opportunity to do today. And I'm just asking all of us to think about this. Now, here's the reality. We have approximately 800 current giving units here at Summit Park Church. And I want to say thank you for everybody who's giving. If you're not giving, I'd like to encourage you to start. Today's a great day to start. But 800 giving units. If each of those giving units, now this is not in place of tithe, because the tithe keeps the ministry moving forward. So please keep giving. Don't give to forward instead of tithe. That won't work. And we'll have a parking lot but no ministry. So that doesn't work. But this would be above and beyond your tithe. And I want to encourage you to take a step and give, because if we have 800 giving units, and if each of them gave $100 a month. Now, some of you I know like that, man, that's just crazy. Like $100 a month. Like, that's a lot. I get it. Trust me. But if $100 a month for 26 months, that's almost that's almost $2 million. So that would almost cover the land if we just did that. I'm talking a low bar. Some of you can do much more than that. I want to encourage you to take a step and do that as well. But as a base level, if we all looked at it like that, if we all gave $100 a month, man, we could do this. Some of you are like, man, I need to pray about this. I need to go look at the budget. I get it. Do that. Again, this is between you and God, but my job is to be Mordecai. My job is to tell you that maybe you've come to your position for such a time as this. That's my job. Your job is to talk to God about this and say, God, what do you have? What do you want me to do? How do you want us to play a part in this? So I'd like us to pray. Maybe some of you know right now and you want to write that number in. Maybe some of you want to take it home. You want to pray about it and just see what the Lord will put on your heart. However you want to do this, that's cool. But I just want to take a moment. Can we pray and just ask that the Lord will speak?